Hey BookTube, I am back for my July wrap up, and I read a lot of books this month. I did participate in Becca's Bookathon partially, and then I did spend some time in the reading rush. And before we actually get into the books, I just want to say a few things about what happened at the reading rush. And I feel that if they learn from this event, that it shows good character and shows that they are willing to put in the effort to learn, educate themselves, diversify their staff, and become better people generally. And because of that and the responses I've seen from them and from what I gather about the situation, because I wasn't even really paying attention the second half of the week, so I'm a little late to that party, is that they are making an effort to be more sensitive, to really understand, like, how they can improve, and it looks like they are headed in that direction. So for Ariel and Raylene, I'm not gonna cancel you because of this, and I hope that next year we see significant improvement, and I am giving you a chance to learn and grow. And yeah, I think they had a really good opportunity to do a lot better than they did, especially considering the book they were reading was actually covering performative allyship, and so that was definitely a place that they fell short. And I think in the book club area in general for the reading rush, they did generally fall short because I wasn't even aware that there was a book club book to read, and I kind of just had missed the memo on that. So, and then I wasn't obviously watching what happened live, but what I read and stuff, it seems like it came off insensitive and was hurtful, and they definitely have room for improvement. So all that being said, assuming they can improve and they do show that they made an effort for next year, I'll keep the jury out on this one. So all that being said, let's get into my July wrap up. I'm gonna try and do this in order, but if you saw from the picture, I don't know what the picture of the front is called. I read a lot of books in this month, so I'm going to try and pull these out in order. I don't have all of the books with me because two of them are with my mom, and then one is on my Kindle, so we'll just go from there. So the first book I read in the month of July was Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wayne. It is a World War II young adult historical fiction novel, and I really enjoyed it. I actually gave it a 5 stars. I was a little confused what was going on in the beginning, but it was basically a story of friendship from these two girls that were part of I think it was the English, but it might have just been UK general, like, force that was fighting against the Nazis in Germany. And one of them is a pilot, one of them is a girl that kind of was like almost a spy, did the codes and stuff. So super awesome story, loved it a lot. It went really fast, it all wrapped up well. I laughed, it was funny, I cried. It's a sad book, it's historical fiction. They tend to have some sadness in them, so that was the first book I read. The next book I read was White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Race by Robin DiAngelo. I think, I don't want to rate this because it is nonfiction, and it was a thing for me to learn, because I am clearly a white person. I am Hispanic, but I wanted to see what I could do to educate myself in light of the movement that has been going on for Black Lives Matter, just so I could better understand, like, what they were going through and their journeys and things like that. I think it was a very informative book. I learned a lot. Its disclaimer very early on is that this is designed to make white people feel uncomfortable, and I can agree with that for certain things. I personally, like, grew up in an area where I was a minority, and so in certain parts of the book I felt like what the people of color did in this, just from my personal experience. But I know that in, like, where I'm at now and, like, where I live now and just generally in society as a whole, there is privilege that white people do experience. So I think this is a really important book to read, and it was a very good lesson very good educational book, and I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm going to pick up a few more books on this topic to continue educating myself. They've just all been sold out for a while, so I'm gonna read them as I can get a hold of them. The next book I read was The Arcanum Unbounded by Brandon Sanderson. I took this I took Mistborn Secret History as its own book because I physically owned it, so I read everything in here. I also did read Mistborn Secret History this month, but I read this. It was so awesome. I love Brandon Sanderson. I've been reading the entire Cosmere this year, and I was reading this and Mistborn Secret History before I reread the Stormlight Archive. It's got really dark in here, y'all. I'm sorry. Let me see. Oh, it's just my computer brightness is down. Okay, that's good. Anyways, so yeah, this was great. I got to learn about a lot of different things that I didn't know about, just little side stories and stuff like that. I will say at this point, I have read the entire Cosmere with the exception of White Sands, and I don't know if that's gonna make it before Rhythm of War, but I did enjoy the section in here that was the graphic novel. So, found it. Yeah, I really did enjoy the little excerpt we got at the beginning, and I'm fascinated about the sand magic. So in this book, you basically get to meet a lot of characters from all over the place and from all the different planets in the system of the Cosmere. There's a map at the beginning. We'll see if I can find. This is the Celish system. So yeah. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. It is basically a collection of short stories with some additional commentary. I did give it a 4 stars, just because I almost wanted more from each of the stories. So that was the only shortcoming I felt with this book, is that I wanted the whole story for all the stories. But as Brandon Sanderson is great, loved it. Probably actually closer to a 5-star now that I think about it. But here we are. For Becca's Book-Upalathon, I read, in the first few bits of it, is Esperanza Renace by Pamunis Ryan. It's Esperanza Rising. It's just a middle grade. No, sorry. I think it's a children's novel. I think I read it originally in the 1st or 2nd grade. But I read it in Spanish because I think there was a cultural diversity card, and it is the characters you start in Mexico and then immigrate to America and work here, and it's about all that. Story is still beautiful, still love it. I gave it a 5 stars. Y'all will realize, this is the second wrap-up video I've ever done, that I give a lot of 5 stars. I am thinking, based on how other YouTubers judge their books, that I might need to get a little stricter with my rating system. However, if I finish a book but don't like it, it usually gets a 3-star. If I DNF a book, it's less than that, but I give a lot of books 5 stars. Yeah. So, if I finish it and didn't like it, or had obvious problems with it, I give it a 3 stars. If I liked it but didn't love it, then I gave it 4 stars. So I might need to get a little more strict and bump things down to a 2, but for right now, I'm going to stick with my system. And then I read The Little Prince, also for Becca's Book-Upalathon. This was such a fun story, and I can't believe I've never read it. And it was just great, and the illustrations were just super incredible, so I loved it. Also gave it 5 stars. No surprise. Scrolling up on my thing. Okay. And then, right after that, we started the reading rush. So I read Mistborn Secret History, this edition, for my birthstone book. My birthstone is a diamond, so they're typically translucent, but the color itself on Wikipedia is actually white. So white, but we also do have blue diamonds and black diamonds that are more rare, so thought this was a good choice for that. And obviously I loved it. We get some Kelsier in here, and it's awesome. A lot of stuff that goes on outside of the original Mistborn trilogy, which just really brought it all together, and I loved it. Obviously a 5 stars. I don't know why I'm debating this with y'all. And then these are technically 3 different books here, I believe. But I think on Goodreads it's just 1 book, but this was the also for the reading rush. So I read Avatar: The Last Airbender: The Promise, graphic novels as the genre of book you are scared of or want to read more of. I haven't really ever read graphic novels before, so here we go. I loved it. Also gave it a 5 stars. Enough. I physically own all of the DVDs for Avatar. I can't find them, but I own all of them. I've always been a diehard Avatar fan, and it's my go-to happy show. And I've always wanted to just read the graphic novels, and I never had, so guess who's gonna go buy more now? Awesome. For the book that starts with I read The Subterraneans by Jack Kerouac. He wrote this book in 3 days and 3 nights, and that's about what I can say for it. I gave this book 3 stars. I did like parts of it, but it was really like hard to follow. Things were fairly problematic, as if they like societal things wouldn't have gone over well today if he'd written this today. And it was just very hard to follow. It was like this rushed thing, and there was a lot of characters, and parts of it were written beautifully, which is something that Jack Kerouac, I believe, is known for. Overall, I honestly don't know what this book was supposed to be about. I think it was a love story and a falling out of a love story situation. It follows people in the San Francisco underground in the 1950s, called The Subterranean. Novel concept. Wasn't hard to read or anything, so if you have time for it and want to be perplexed a little bit, then take a go at it. I didn't love it, and I probably won't read it again. Something like this might go over well as an audiobook, just so you can hear the things and stuff, but yeah, 3 stars. What is next? Oh yes, for my book that took place in a foreign country, I read Louis de la Valliere, by Alexandre Dumas. I did not realize was the second book in a trilogy that's set after The Three Musketeers, ending in The Man in the Iron Mask, because usually people just think of The Man in the Iron Mask as the sequel to The Three Musketeers. Apparently it's a trilogy. So this is the second book. I did not read the first book. I was very confused for the first, third of the book. But I loved it. It was great. I think I gave this overall 4 stars because it took me so long to get into it, because I was thoroughly, again, perplexed because I didn't realize the third book. So, with that being said, this much of the book, basically, was awesome. The intrigue, the romance, the drama, all set in, pretty medieval France, is super good. Set in 1661, so after, New World and things have been discovered, but dang, it was good. And this lady must be pretty, because everyone was in love with her, including the king. The next book I read for the reading rush was the movie book adaptation, The Princess Bride by William Goldman. I didn't really know what to expect with this book. I don't like to read books after I've seen the movie, generally, so I've had this book for a while before reading it, and I think some things come off creepier and weirder in the book than they do in the movie. I loved the movie, and I did think I was amused by how basically William Goldman is taking this old tale and abridging it, and he basically has commentary on why he's skipping stuff, and it was really humorous. But the whole where Wesley's getting tortured was a lot more the guy doing it which is the 6-fingered guy that my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. Guy, that's the guy who killed Inigo Montoya's father, was the guy that tortures Wesley. And that guy's a lot more sick in the head than he realized in the movie. Also, Buttercup here is a ditz. So I don't love in romance novels when women are kind of just floofy, which is why I don't read a lot of romance novels. Not that they're always like that. I like when there's big plot and then there's romantic elements, which is why I like fantasy books. But I didn't hate it. I think it was a good read, but I also only gave this 3 stars. Gotta move my little... Okay, I forgot somewhere in there I read The Pearl. This was for the... Oh, this is the first book I touched, sorry. For the reading rush, this is the first book I touched, and it's John Steinbeck. Love him. I clearly have multiple copies of this book, and I have a lot of Steinbeck down here as well, in the Barnes & Noble Classics print, because they're all this color, Grapes of Wrath and such. Great story, basically a parable, and I think I want to read this again in a few years and see what I glean from it then, because it's basically addressing the issues surrounding like greed and money and like too much ambition and stuff like that. And I think if I read it again in a different phase of my life, I'll gather more information on, like I'll glean more advice from it. So the Pearl by John Steinbeck, I think I gave it a 4-star just because it's a story. Like it wasn't anything too exciting. It was more of a lesson. Books that I don't have here for fun. Oh, the book I read entirely outside of my house. It was going to be the audiobook for Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. And all I'm going to say about that is I have listened to about 2/3 of it. I don't think the audiobook is for me because I love scary books and horror as a genre in books, but I cannot do scary movies. And I think the same thing is basically what's happening in this audiobook because it's horrifying. The villains are super creepy and it's very weird. And it's one of those full cast audiobooks. I think they're called graphic audiobooks. And it's very well done. I love Taron Egerton from Kingsman and Rocket Man and all that. He plays one of the characters. And I think the story is really interesting. I think I'd like it a lot as a graphic novel because that's how it's originally written. But I can't handle the sound effects and music and all the creepy voices. Wasn't a huge fan. I listened to 2/3 of that before I just stopped. But the book that I did end up knocking in there for entirely outside my house, I read it at my parents' house. It was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, or Mandel St. John. I'm looking at my Goodreads behind the camera here. And that book was really good. It was a post-apocalyptic book where there is also a pandemic. I liked it a lot more than I did reading The Stand during the COVID-19 pandemic, just because it doesn't actually talk a lot about how everyone died. It's more about the society that exists afterwards. And it was super well written. I didn't expect what was going to happen at the end, and I really did enjoy it, so I think I give it a 5 stars. The other book that I have that is on my Kindle is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I liked it. I know there's been pretty disparaging reviews on all sides of the board, but I enjoyed it. Gave it a 4 stars. You're basically rooting for Snow for most of the book, and I won't have too many spoilery comments in there. Although, like, the whole time I was reading it, like, you're obviously wanting him to do well because he's impoverished. I'm gonna angle this up a little bit more. Sorry. He's obviously, like, struggling. He's impoverished. He's having to deal with, like, the nonsense that is the Capitol, and this is very early in the Hunger Games, so they're not like what we see in the normal Hunger Games series with Katniss Everdeen and all that. So it was really interesting to see that and how it developed, but I could tell that, like, Snow was, like, there was a switch that was going to flip at a certain point, and, like, he was going to be who we see in the end, like, in the original Hunger Games trilogy, not in the prequel setting. So you're rooting for him, but I could tell, like, the way he answered questions, the way he did things, the way his brain worked, I was like, so you're a sociopath, just a little bit. But it was interesting because we get to follow him as a student that is basically in charge of mentoring a person that's in the that is reaped and that is in the Hunger Games, and then we get to follow him as, like, what he does throughout that Hunger Games. He actually, in his fall from grace and in his time as a one of those guards that they have in all the towns and all the districts. Peacekeepers, that's the word. I said I was going to have no spoilers. Sorry, y'all. Here we are. I think it was a good read. I really I did enjoy being back in the world. I know that people are, like, not liking it very much and the songs are a little bit weird. They didn't feel like they flowed super well, in my opinion, but I did overall enjoy the story, and the world was great, and Suzanne Collins did a great job. I forgot how good of a writer she was. I had a hard time, like, wanting to read this because I just was very disappointed with Mockingjay, but I did like this book a lot. I gave it a 4 stars. And yeah, that is my July wrap-up. I will say briefly on the reading rush, I really enjoyed participating in it, despite what happened at the end, just because I hadn't been this excited to read in a long time. Like, I love reading and I read a lot, but I was just so excited to, like, be with like the community and talking to people and doing these things. And I hosted one of the Wednesday night situation where we had the live read-in. I hosted one of those on Zoom, and I'm actually going to post it on my YouTube at some point. It was just a very long video, so I haven't done it yet. But I did really enjoy being a part of this, and I am clearly someone who is fueled by intense competition, because I did not expect to read as much as I did. I think I read almost 2,000 pages during this week, while working 8 to 5 and doing a lot of driving, and I basically didn't sleep very much. So overall, I think this is the most books I've ever read in a month. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books in a month, maybe 14. Might have counted wrong. 13 to 15 books I read in this month, and that's just a lot for me, so I'm glad I was able to do it. So thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, all those things. Check out my Instagram. If y'all want to see any particular content or videos, just let me know. Thanks for watching.